Hello, friends, you're on the Timothy Jacob Dalton channel, and this is my channel trailer. To help you understand why I created this channel and what kind of videos you'll find here, I'd like to share the story of my life. It'll give you the full picture. I was born in Ukraine, in the city of Kherson, in 2009. Just an ordinary little Ukrainian boy, red hair, chubby cheeks, a real ray of sunshine. My family is the most typical mom, dad, two grandmas and a grandpa. But one of my grandmas seems to be a bit unlucky in her personal life. She has been married 3 times but ended up alone in her old age. Still, she's an incredibly kind woman, loves me dearly, and always supports me no matter what I set my mind to. I remember very little about my early years due to some tragic events in my life. My memory often fails me, but my relatives shared a few interesting stories about me. According to my aunts, I was a quiet and calm boy from the very beginning. They often left me unattended, even when I was really small. Because my parents knew I wouldn't get into trouble, I'd just sit and play with my toys. Unlike my cousin, who's a real troublemaker and has been getting himself into mischief since he was little. When I started kindergarten, I wasn't much different from the other kids. All I remember is that my best friend was a regular plush teddy bear. Though I had to be quick to grab it before other kids could take it. I didn't really interact much with the other children. I always felt more comfortable being on my own. One day, my aunt came to pick me up from kindergarten, and when she saw me, she burst out laughing, as she later told me, while the other kids were running around, playing, and even biting each other. I was sitting quietly in the corner, all by myself, carefully stacking blocks. Kindergarten ended, and school began. To be honest, I can't say anything good about my school or about school in general. Really, I spent the first 4 grades on the first floor. Our school has 2 floors, grades 1 to 4 on the first floor, and grades 5 to 11 on the second. The younger kids are kept separate so they don't get in the way of the older ones. My tendency to keep to myself never went away, and I found talking to my classmates totally boring. They thought I was dumb, even though I've got several awards from international competitions, and that's got to mean something. But I thought they were the dumb ones, and I'm pretty sure if I hadn't said that to their faces, they wouldn't have beaten me up so often or so hard. While writing this, I remembered how I had a crush on a girl in 2nd grade. I was crazy about her, but then she moved away somewhere. It sounds really funny now, but back then it was a full-on drama for me. Our school had a lot of old teachers, real crafted in Soviet Union types. If you know what I mean, the classic package, strict looks, outdated rules, and zero tolerance for anything modern. They absolutely hated my hairstyle. I had long hair, and they thought it was not proper for a boy to look like that. There were 11 boys and 16 girls in my class, and it felt like everyone was constantly talking about my hair. Honestly, it seemed like the biggest problem in all of Ukraine. Luckily, my mom was totally fine with my style, and we always went to the same barbershop to get my hair trimmed. But those teachers, old, grumpy, and completely against any kind of progress. I won't name names here even though I really want to. I vividly remember how my classmates bullied me while the teachers just watched and didn't bother to step in. If you're different in any way, they won't even treat you like a person. That's the harsh truth of my life. More than once, I was told that I'm the one to blame for getting beaten and humiliated. Like it's my fault for provoking them. My teachers, apparently, lived by the motto if cannibals ate you, well, you're the one to blame for looking so tasty. But I'll never forget it, and, you know, I'm actually grateful to them in a way. I had no one to rely on, so I learned to depend only on myself, and that gave me strength. I learned to endure, no matter how many times they humiliated me. No matter how many times I stood in the corner for someone else's mistakes. I grew stronger and maybe a bit angrier too, but what's done is done, let God be their judge. So I finally made it through 4 years. Elementary school was over. I was absolutely thrilled about it, and I remember how our parents organized a last bell ceremony for us. They dressed us up in fancy formal outfits, threw a little party, and officially handed us over to our new homeroom teacher, at last. We got to move to the 2nd floor. Fun fact, our school library was on the 2nd floor. and I was so excited to finally have access to it. We started having double lessons, and we were constantly running between classrooms. It was way more fun than sitting in the same room all day. And, of course, I started paying more attention to the other kids since I really wanted to make some friends. I also remember an interesting moment from elementary school before gym class. We used to change into our sports uniforms right in the classroom. But starting from 5th grade, we began changing in the locker rooms. I clearly remember how much it embarrassed me to change in front of boys from other classes. I'm quite a shy person, and I really don't like it when someone teases me or even stares at me too much. So I always had to wait until everyone else was done changing. Or I'd enter the locker room a bit later to avoid those awkward situations. So, let's move on to the more interesting moments of my life. It was the end of summer 2020, and back then, I thought it was the worst time of my life. At the end of summer, we had to go through a medical checkup to continue school. I absolutely hate that time you have to visit a bunch of doctors. Wake up early, stand in long lines, and they even take blood from your finger, pure nightmare. But right at that moment, somewhere on a bus, I met him. No, don't get me wrong, it wasn't love at first sight. But it was something really strange. I noticed him while heading home. It was a terribly long ride, and I was already completely exhausted. Thankfully, my mom was with me, which made me feel a bit better. I sat near the front of the bus, and after a while, I saw him. He was sitting at the very back. Just an ordinary boy around my age, but the way he looked at me, or maybe he wasn't even looking at me, but I felt so embarrassed when I glanced at him. It felt like he was staring right at me, noticing my curious gaze. Now I wonder what color my cheeks were, probably pink, or maybe I turned entirely red from embarrassment. I wonder if my mom noticed, but his eyes, I'll remember them for the rest of my life. This was the first part of the video, and its creation took me a tremendous amount of time and effort. The idea and text for this video are entirely mine, but I honestly didn't expect the process to be so challenging. Grok assisted me with the technical side and served as an editor. For image generation, I used Comfy Cui, and I'm grateful to OpenVoice for the voice synthesis. Thank you for watching. I'm looking forward to your comments, where we can discuss things in more detail before the release of the second part. Don't forget to like and subscribe to stay tuned for the next part.